up for that.
You should have audio now.
All right, you guys are good as
We're
far as I can
good.
tell. So
Well, tell
carry on.
Okay, so hi everybody, and welcome to the podcast. OBS freaked out. It's what we use to stream, and I don't know what happened. But so you know, I was recording the audio, and I don't have a date yet, but these are going to be coming out as podcasts because sometimes people don't want the video because they don't want to see me.
That's a very wise thing. That's a very wise
Yeah.
thing, Andrew.
So in
Maybe they
approximate,
could do it without your face, but put my face.
well,
on
your
it.
face will be the logo for every podcast. I think that's the way we're going to do it. But in approximately, well, this is show 23, 22. So in approximately like 25 or 26 weeks, this will be out as a podcast, and you can hear the incredibly witty banter that we had at the top of the show.
It was all about. We were talking about. Okay, let me just say, satu means one in my language, in Indonesian language. Satu, dua means two. That's an easy one. That's a connection. Tiga means three. My favorite is four, which is empat, which is, and the T, you put your tongue just between your teeth. Empat, like that. But five is lima. Now, for me, for some reason, when I learned lima as five, it meant five to me. It had a connection. And I was thinking something to do with aeroplanes. So I would like someone to just...
yes, we need someone in the chat to tell us what the connection is between lemurs and five.
I think that lima in English language has some connection to five. But I digress, as we would say.
Not really.
And here we are for part two. I have just woken up. Although I didn't get enough sleep because I was so excited to come on this show.
I don't believe that was why, but thank you for saying that.
I had about half an hour's sleep from 12:30 to 1 o'clock. I woke up, it's now 1:45 in the morning. I've had 2 nice cups of espresso. So I am good to go.
So let's get you while the going's good then.
Get me while the going's good, yes.
So look, we talked about a bunch of crap last time. And we're going to talk about a bunch of different crap this time. But you said that specifically you were chatting to some U2 fans who wanted a story about the streets have no name.
No name, yeah. And then just to, it's a funny story. Well, it's an interesting story. And I've told this to a couple of times, but I don't know if I've ever told it. I've certainly never told you, Andrew Scheps.
No, you have not, Mr. Lillywhite.
So my job on the Joshua Tree, as I say, it says mixed by Steve Lillywhite, but that in sort of, current modern terms, that implies that I was presented with a finished recording and I sat on my own doing that. No, it was nothing like that. It was like a relay race, basically, because, and now a lot of records are like relay races, actually. But this was maybe one of the first of that sort. I was given, I just basically took over from Brian Eno and Danny Lanois, who I've never known be so like fried on a song. They couldn't see it because they'd been working on it for so long. So it's like they were going, oh, thank God, Steve's here. He can take over this fucking song. Because I think Brian had grown to really hate it,
Which, considering he starts off hating the band to begin with,
Right. But especially that song, he grew to really hate. So anyway, they're passing over the baton as such. And Danny says to me, look, Steve, it's yours now. Do what you want to it. As I say, we're completely burnt on it. But there are 2 bass tracks. He said, there's the original floor bass track, and then there's the overdubbed one. Now, the overdubbed one, all in time, and it sounds good, but there's something about the floor track that I just feel has excitement, just something about it, he said. I went, okay, Danny, thanks a lot. He left the studio. Fresh in my mind was this. So I put the tape on, and of course you put it on, you put the drums in first, and then you put up the bass. And I did that, the drums, and I went, fucking hell, stupid. The overdub bass sounded really good with bass and drums, good groove. The floor bass was like racing, like crazy, So anyway, I thought, oh, Danny was really fried, So I put it away and forgot about it. And we carried on overdubbing on the song, and, Bono finished the lyrics, and we did this and we did that. And then when it came to sort of printing the mix, I remembered what Danny said. So I had all the instruments up by this point, and everything had been finished. I just remembered what he said. So as I was playing the mix, I flipped the two basses. And all of a sudden, it had this sort of aggression to it. So just something like its back went up, and it just had this tension. And I went, oh my God, Danny was right. There is something about the floor bass. So it was really crazy. I printed it, put it to bed, and went to, and the band said, signed off on the mix. Everything was good, went off, and that was the record. And I used to tell this story as an example of things don't have to be, always in the pocket or whatever to make a great record. But there is an addendum to this story. For the 20th anniversary of the Joshua Tree, there was a repackaging or a remastering, I think, something like that. Anyway, the band always have to okay the record, right?
Yeah.
The reprinting. Now, they obviously hadn't listened to the album at all. Like you don't, if you're the band, you don't listen to
it's done.
You don't
Absolutely.
have time, it's done, I get a phone call from Adam, the bass player, said, Steve, there's something wrong with the bass on Where the Streets Have No Name. What? He says, it's out of time. I went, well, Adam, it's, that was the thing. It really made it feel better, I thought, but it was funny that the mentality of musicians now compared to the sort of innocence of those days. And he was only a 20, they were only mid-20s on the Joshua Tree. They were young, like mid to late 20s. I think Adam was 27 or something like that.
It's what, their fifth record or something?
It was their fourth,
Unforgettable Fire and then that? Or do I have those backwards?
Fifth album. So they'd done a lot of albums by the time they were that age. And yes, you're right. But it was funny. And anyway, that's how I tell that story. So that is the story, my story of Where the Streets Have No Name.
Well,
and
I wonder too, because there is always a weird thing with certain musicians in bands will start to feel insecure about their own musicality. I mean, like Flea, who's one of the best bass players on the planet, took himself back to music school. I mean, because he wanted to learn it and things, but also because he just felt like he had to be able to keep up. Couldn't have a conversation with people about chord structures and things because he didn't know. And,
right.
And it made him sort of assess his own playing in ways that weren't necessarily anything other than him just trying to make sure that there wasn't anything stupid going on, which is, it's insane. Yeah. But
Adam took bass lessons for a year actually as well, because, I think I might have mentioned last time, they were not aware of how a 12-bar blues went. Adam wasn't anyway. But that's interesting with Flea, because for me, Flea was like not just a great parts bass player, but for me, he was a great player.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a great player as well as great parts. So it's interesting. But look, it's always great for musicians not to be complacent.
Yeah.
And, and complacency is certainly something that right back in with the punk rock days, that was something that we hated. We looked at those big sort of bloated bands and it was just, complacency, it was fancy musicianship for the sake of fancy musicianship. Right. Now, that was our right to be angry. Now, I say, I love all that music, but it was, when you're a certain age, you have this this feeling of wanting to change the world.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite quotes in any documentary, but certainly in a music documentary, was I don't remember, it might have been a BBC one, but sort of the history of punk kind of thing. And they're interviewing Chrissie Hynde. And she says, well, of course the punk era had to end because we all learned how to play our instruments. So musically, there's no way you continue doing that because they all developed, and went past it.
Well, as they say, a little bit of knowledge is a bad thing.
Yes. I
mean, complete lack of knowledge, fantastic, because you just go with your heart, and you go with your emotion. Little bit of knowledge, that's why the middle class are so scared, because if you come from very rich or very poor, you don't worry about money, because the very rich will always be very rich. The very poor, came from nothing, so they don't care. That's why Bono is so fearless. He came from nothing. He doesn't care. You know, it's quite interesting. Us middle-class white boys from England, you know, we're scared shitless that the mortgage will be never paid.
Right.
You know, and all that sort of thing, you know, but if you come from nothing, you absolutely don't. And to be honest, we all start with nothing, Andrew Scheps.
This is true. You cannot take it with you.
Except a very wet diaper.
Yes. Well, I suppose. All right, we'll just leave that there.
We start with the wet diaper.
So,
and we end.
look, let's just jump around because I mentioned Chrissie Hynde, and I wanted to ask you about the song that is on Get Close, which
A Room Full of Mirrors.
A Room Full of Mirrors, which to me was always like the holy shit song. I mean, and obviously it's a great song anyway, but there is so much. It's a really cool Pretenders album, I think, especially for that era. But that song has so much energy to it, and I'd love to hear like how that happened and why it's on that record and etc.
Right. Well, I think I was being sort of interviewed, you know, to do a because I'd met Chrissie way back in the day with Johnny Thunders, and she was a punk, and she'd come over. So we had, you know, we had certain, you know, we had friends and we were acquaintances. So she knew who I was, but you know, she was very, you know, she was salty then, she's salty now, you know, and so she was, but still a lovely person. Although don't eat a tuna fish sandwich in front of her.
Nothing with a face.
No, she would just walk away. But you know, that's her right, and that's perfectly okay. But no, it was. So they were on tour, and they wanted to record "Room Full of Mirrors," and I think they were in Stockholm because I remember we did it at ABBA's studio.
Oh, right.
Polar,
yeah.
Which was actually a great studio. It had a nice live area that no one had utilized for a sort of live drum thing. And I remember they had this this ashtray that I got Martin Chambers to hit as part of his drum part. So I wish you were going to you pulled this one out of the hat for me, Andrew, because if I'd listened to it before, I could maybe think more clearly about it. But I do remember him hitting the ashtray. So they were on tour. We went into Polar and we cut this song, and it was, you know, I was really pleased with it, and it was great. And then so then they finished the tour, and she wanted to do some more recording, and we went into RAC in London. And I know you said you've never worked there. You've got to do some work there. It is a beautiful place. And we went into RAC, and I think she thought, okay, Steve's got the energy of the band. Great, you know, because they've never had energy like that, really. Yeah. You know, but let's try him out on a ballad. And there was a ballad called Hymn to Her. I don't know if that was, and we did a recording of it, and it didn't work out as well. You know, maybe I was not quite in the headspace, but you know, it was fine. And we just did a record, you know, it wasn't like Steve's doing an album with us or anything. It was like, Steve, can you come in? We want to try and cut this track. So we went in and we cut this song, and hymn spelled Hymn, Hymn to Her. And she hadn't written it. It was written by a friend of hers. So she obviously wanted to help someone out. It was an okay song. I didn't think it was brilliant, but you know, she is just.
Is it on the record?
I don't know. I've never really. I don't know.
Hold on. I'm going to go grab it and look. Only because there is a really beautiful ballad on that album. And when you said it was spelled that way, that rang a bell for a second.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I don't need to look it up. Mark can look it up. The CD's in the other room.
Yeah. But there you go. So yes, it was great. And then, you know, I've known Chrissie sort of over the years, you know, because then she married Jim Kerr from Simple Minds, who I just after I produced them actually. And so yeah, and she was great, you know, but as I say, she knows what she wants, and well, I don't know if she knows what she wants, but she's very. People say that she's a, like Joan Armatrading, a tough woman, But I think, to be this is the trouble with the music business, and you know this, Andrew. If you're a man and you're tough, you're a hard, you're a tough guy.
Yeah.
If you're a woman and you're tough, you're called a bitch.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible thing to say, but almost throughout our careers anyway, women have had to toughen themselves. And the longer you go, the tough, and the higher up the tree you go, the tougher you have to be, until you get to Madonna. And I feel for her, poor woman. She's very talented and very clever, but she sort of toughed herself to a point of very strangeness.
Yes, caricatured. Though I will say, one of my favorite Madonna facts is that it's not even about her. It's that the Beastie Boys' first tour was opening for her.
That's right, yes.
So awesome.
I was reading something about that, yeah. But she's been lying in the bath, posting stuff on Instagram recently, and
is she still wearing the eye patch and stuff? I mean, that's
yes, yeah. Well, you saw her on. She was on Graham Norton. We were talking about Graham Norton's show earlier,
just before we came on air, even without sound.
Right. Yeah, she was part of she was on the Graham Norton show, and I don't know. She ended up looking uncool with her eye patch. Everyone else on there was just joking, and she didn't gauge the feel of the show. Let me say that.
Which is a shame.
Which is a shame, yeah, because boy, she's been at the forefront of amazing music. It's never quite been my taste or everything, but you've got to admire her.
Yeah. Yep. She invented a part of the industry, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and what I
enough about Madonna.
Her own career. Yeah.
We could talk about Simple Minds, though.
We could talk about it. I mean, no, I did a great album with Simple Minds, and to be honest, I always thought I deserved to do a second one with them, but for some reason they didn't. They didn't really ask me, but their instincts were right. And the thing with Simple Minds is that they had the big hit in America, but it was with a song they hadn't written themselves, and it was on the back of the movie. It was the Keith Forsey song, "Don't You Forget About Me."
Yeah.
Which was it was a good song, but it's immediately in my world and in the UK world, it's like, oh, Simple Minds are on the same level now as U2, but U2 had built that solid base.
Well, and I've got to say, as an American, where that was not just the introduction, that was Simple Minds for years. It's all you heard. The rest of the catalog is almost shocking. Like, they're a hell of a lot more punk than that song makes you think they're going to be.
Right. But the album I did was good, but the album before me, New Gold Dream, is honestly, the song called "I Promised You a Miracle," the American. It's not my style of production, but song-wise, they were at their peak. Sonically, I thought I got them better, but maybe they were not quite songs. What I did, it was more sonic landscapes,
right?
Which is normally a bit of a cop-out. Whereas no, the album New Gold Dream is brilliant. Absolute, they were great. So, but that didn't hit in America because I don't think maybe the sound was as good. But yeah, and also Big Country, slightly similar.
Yeah.
Big Country had the problem of having a song which was the same name as the band.
Yeah.
Is gimmick straight away. And then they had a fucking video of them on 4x4s, which made them look like the Monkees. Yeah. So it wasn't.
Though I don't remember the Monkees being on 4x4s. I mean, the only time they were rolling around was in a bed, but it's this, yes.
It was, but it was a fooling around type.
Absolutely. No, it's true. Because, I mean, when that song first came out, you think, like, so do they only have the one? They must only have one song. Because otherwise, why would you name a song after your band? Yeah, it is a really weird thing.
Right, but it was the second but interestingly, when I produced them, I produced their first hit, which was called Fields of Fire, which was which was a great, and it was a big hit in the UK. And it was after the singer Stuart Adamson had heard Fields of Fire, he went away and wrote In a Big Country, which for me as a producer, it was like, wow, that's the amazing thing, that you can inspire someone to write a song.
Yeah.
Because he suddenly heard this sound and went, oh, now I can write to the sound.
Right.
Which was a very, very, wow, thank you, Stuart, was great. So anyway, so yeah, that was at that time I was the man. It was Big Country, Simple Minds, U2, all of that. This was my sort of second wave, because my first wave was Susie and the Banshees, Psychedelic Furs, and the Members, and that sort of punky stuff. Second wave was the Simple Minds, U2, Big Country, and then it was like then I sort of peaked with the Rolling Stones, and it was like, oh, what do you do after the Rolling Stones? You've done the biggest the biggest band in the world, and or the biggest name in the world, and you fuck their career up. So who can you fuck next?
Well,
so
you do describe that Stones record as the worst Stones record until the next one, which of course I worked on the next one. I think was it right before Bridges to Babylon? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, no, they as I tell you, I learned more from them than they learned from me. But as I say, Keith and Mick were not talking to each other. I tell you a good, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see a very young, fresh-faced Steve Lillywhite, if you go on YouTube and look for Aretha Franklin.
After this, don't go on now.
After this, don't do it now.
This,
Aretha Franklin, Jumping Jack Flash. And if you make sure you see the video, the slightly longer version, there may be two versions, the slightly longer version, which has about a minute from the movie Jumping Jack Flash, which includes Whoopi Goldberg being hit over the head, hitting a taxi driver over the head, jumping out of a taxi, running, where shall I go? She runs into a recording studio. And I say to Whoopi Goldberg, are you the background singer? And anyway, I am sat next to Keith Richards at the mixing desk, a very fresh-faced Steve Lillywhite, and it's a pretty good version of Jumping Jack Flash. And I have to say, hey, have you ever recorded Aretha Franklin, Andrew?
No, I have not.
And you won't, will you?
No, that would be if I did I should go to prison. So, yeah.
So,
and what was Whoopi's line? What did she respond?
So are you the background singer? She says, she looked out the door and the guy was chasing her into the control room, and she slammed the door and went, yes, I'm the background singer. And then it goes, shut down, diddle-dun, dun, dun, diddle-dun, dun, boom, 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 boom. And it goes straight to, I was born in a crossfire hurricane, boom, with Randy Jackson on bass, before anyone knew about...
Before Dog, yeah.
Before Idol and, Dog and Pitchy and all that, because then no one cared. Steve Jordan on drums, Ronnie Wood, and Keith on guitar. So in the video, he mysteriously goes from sitting next to me at the desk to outside playing the guitar,
Well, he is superhuman. I mean, he could actually do that, couldn't he?
He can do that.
He can do anything he wants.
He can, because he's Keith Richards. Well, that was the thing, in those druggy days, other people were like disappearing to the toilet to do their coke. I mean, he would just do it anywhere because he's Keith Richards.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was lovely. But, we got on great with him. He was a great guy. So it was after the Rolling Stones album, he asked me to come and help him with the Aretha Franklin record, to do Jumping Jack Flash.
Right.
But, so it was actually, it was great. It was in Detroit. Okay. And this is an interesting thing. It was in Detroit in the recording studio in August. So it was fucking hot. There was the film crew filming Jumping Jack Flash. There was the video crew videoing the video for Jumping Jack Flash. And there was a small crew of documentary makers. It was crazy. And Aretha did not want any air conditioning because it fucked up with her vocals.
Oh boy.
Even though she was chain smoking cools. that doesn't matter. Smoking cigarettes, listen to Joe Cocker. That's never a problem. Smoking cigarettes is not a problem for singers. It can actually give you something, but she was chain smoking, but she wouldn't have the air conditioning on because she felt that would maybe dry her vocal cords out. But yeah, that was a crazy time. But one of those things, I'll tell you, this is what made great singers in those days. It's the outro of Jumping Jack Flash. She starts doing some acrobatics, right? And we're on 24 track. So she's out there doing it, and I'm doing because I told you I love doing the tape hopping as well. So I'm sitting there and doing the tape hopping, and she does this incredible, this great gymnastics, and she stops and she goes, "Just take me back, punch me in there." And I go, "Oh my God, that was brilliant. Quick, change track, keep it. So we quickly plug in, change track, and we go in and we do it on another track. And she gets it better, but she stops. She goes, no. Give me one more time. We had a third track, luckily. So we did a third track. Did this, and she beats the second one, and she keeps on singing. And I suddenly realized I don't need to keep anything. She knows exactly what she wants. It was, I'd been so used to these singers who had no idea what they were doing. And it was like, let me do it again. And then it gets worse.
Right.
She absolutely knew what she was going for. And it was a supreme confidence that was really, really just, wow, impressive.
Yeah, man. Yeah, she's special. She was, yes.
So,
and a great piano player too.
Well, that was what Keith wanted her to play piano on the song, and she is. And it was 80s. Oh, her hair was just, she was Miss 80s during this recording. Ladies and gentlemen, go and check it out.
Nice. Well, I look forward to seeing a fresh face.
No,
not now. Later.
Andrew Scheps, hold on, 1 second. Oh my God, you never believe it. I live in Indonesia.
Yeah.
You had a dead mouse, but oh my God, I found a dead monkey.
Good God, Steve Lillywhite.
Oh my God, it's dead monkey. It's fucking dead now, I'm telling you. Anyway.
Does that monkey have a name? Thank you for that.
Oh.
That's nice. Well, Mole will probably now bring a monkey in this week. I don't know if we have monkeys near us, but if we do, Mole's shopping for one right now.
Maybe it's a chimpanzee. I don't know. Who cares? Anyway, back to
So is that yours?
It sits on the bed.
Nice.
You know how women like that thing of of far too many pillows and sometimes stuffed animals.
Yeah, and somehow it's okay to have 35 of them stacked on a chair overnight and then put them all back on the bed in the morning.
Put them all back the next day.
Which seems like a hell of a lot of work, but
Hey.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. So we did talk about Dave Matthews a bit, but we could, if you wanted to.
We can talk a bit more about Dave Matthews Band because I know, there's probably some Americans there. And I can't remember what we said, though. I as you get older, you do tend to repeat yourself. And you're younger than me, so you will know if I repeat myself.
Well, you'd think that I would, except that I watched so many of your interviews getting ready for the other interview that I might conflate something you said to somebody else.
Right. Yeah, because I've only got a handful of stories.
No. I
have a lot of stories, as you'll find out when you read the book.
Well, hey, so, all right, before we get to Dave Matthews, though, unless I'm wrong, we only briefly mentioned the Pogues.
The Pogues.
But okay. I feel like we should talk about Fairy Tale of New York a little bit, right?
We didn't talk about Fairy Tale of New York.
I feel like we only mentioned the Pogues in passing last time. I could be wrong.
We didn't mention Britain's favorite Christmas song. We never mentioned.
No, we did. We did. No, we did. We did do that one.
Are you being typed by Mark?
Yeah. No. He'll. Oh, okay. So first, Mark is saying that ballad, the Pretenders ballad, is on Get Close. So he's way
Okay,
behind.
okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, all right. Look, if you got something, I don't even know what to do with this. I've screwed up so much. I actually watched all of part one, but because it was so long, I had to watch it at 2 times real time. And
Right.
so I missed a couple of things. And now I can't remember.
I can't remember if we spoke. Anyone who's watching this, had I spoken about the Pogues?
We talked about the
There's
Christmas number one. I'm almost positive we talked about that. But I yeah.
the recording of it is I tell you what,
I am a terrible interviewer. I'm really sorry about this.
Oh, I know. But okay, maybe I didn't say this because this is a little bit tech. Not really tech, but it was one of those things that to me is blatantly obvious. But the band and everyone around them, because they'd recorded that song before, had never really considered. The fact is that the song starts, "It was Christmas Eve, babe, in the drunk tank," piano and vocal, and then it goes into the band. Now, the band had tried recording this many times before me with Elvis Costello as producer, and they could never get the first part to the second part. They would record the first part and then they would start. And anyway, and I said to them, look, it's very easy. All we need do is do it in 2 bits and I'll edit the tape together. And they went, ooh, we never thought of that. Now, it seemed really obvious to me, but no one in the production team had ever thought of like, okay, it's very easy. Make it into smaller sections and chop it together. So the opening part of that song is a live performance of vocal and piano, because because they were looking at each other,
right?
And it's in free time, so they had to, and there was spill and everything. It was just had to be like that, So we just did maybe 10 takes of that, and we chose the one that we wanted, and then I mixed that onto 2-track, and then I ran that through the headphones, and the band counted in, and they came in, and it was like, and it was easy, and then we cut the song, and then I went and, I don't know, you've chopped many an album together, right? And one thing that people are so impressed is when you chop the 2-inch tape. Back in those days, it was like, oh my God, it really felt, I love doing it, and doing that. So I chopped the tape together, and away we went. So and then the rest of the song was musically it was pretty easy. One of the few orchestras I recorded, and maybe I didn't mix the strings really loud enough, but it has an orchestra on it, and but like all great duets, they never sung it at the same time.
Right.
It was done separately, and I remember because I was married to Kirsty, and so I said, and Kirsty wasn't their choice for that song. They wanted someone like Chrissie Hynde or a bigger pop star to sing it with them. So when originally, so I basically said, look, I have a studio at my house. Let me take it home. Let Kirsty do a vocal. If you don't like it, at least you have a demo of the girl's voice. Kirsty's, just a friend. She doesn't mind doing it. She was lovely for that. She'd do anything. She loved singing. So I took the tape home, and we spent a Sunday doing her vocals, spent a whole day doing her vocals. But I really, I'm very, very proud of my compiling skills for vocals, and because it's a really difficult song. It's got lots of twiddles, lots of lovely things in her performance, and it's an absolutely perfect vocal performance by Kirsty. But that took some time compiling. She just didn't do it straight away. So we spent a long time just, do that one word, it was all that, and it was on tape. It wasn't like you couldn't do do all the stuff. So that was good. And so I took it back to the Pogues on the Monday morning, and we're in the studio. I played it to them, and they went, "Oh my God." And Shane McGowan, who had thought he'd done his vocal during the main part of the song, went, and he said, "Yeah, I think I ought to do my vocal again." I said, "You're right, Shane, you've got to do your vocal again." Because, and he managed to, to snap his vocal up, because her vocal was so good. It was like, well, I can't, he had some pride in those days, he was great. And the whole album was a great, I listened to it the other day, and it's tight as a nut. It's wonderfully, it's just right. It's, I think I maybe I talked about the volume of the whistle, didn't I?
I think so. Yeah. I think that's what we got to, but we didn't talk about Christie doing the vocals. So this is new ground.
I think this is what happened with the Pogues. You started to steer me towards Fairy Tale of New York, and I told you a long-winded story about how I mixed the whistle, and I kept turning it down. I kept turning it down. I kept turning it down. And the band came in and said, "Where's the fucking whistle?" And of course, I would never mix a whistle on every song, because they had a whistle player. It was like weird for me,
Right.
So the whistle was the last thing I put in the mix after the vocal. And then it made sense. But if I put the whistle in earlier on, it's fucking driving me crazy. It's like, fucking whistle, turn it down. I can keep hearing it because it was such a high-pitched thing. Your ear goes to those highs. Yes. So anyway, that was the Pogues. I got them at a great time. And yes, a true bohemian, like Keith Richards, really didn't matter what time he went to bed, what time he got up, bit like me at the moment. Here I am. It's 2:30 in the morning.
Keeping you up.
Oh, no.
All right. Look, should we... I wonder, because we should talk about your foray into A&R. Your trip to the other side of the office, so to speak.
Yeah, well, if you get, if you're as a producer, engineer, and not engineer at the start of my career. Engineer at the start of my career, you were employed by the studio, but from like mid-80s onwards, engineers became freelance, or so you didn't have a salary. So we live in a world of no salary. So, the holy grail for a record producer is to have a salary, So when I got offered by Lucian Grange, who I'd known Lucian, who is, to all you people here, Lucian Grange is the most powerful man in the music business. He is the head honcho of Universal Records, about a little bit younger than me, but when I was a tape op, he was in the post room. Well, sort of in the post. It was like that. His brother was working at the same recording company. I worked in the studio. His brother worked in the recording company. I knew Lucian when we were both like really young, and he had this idea of bringing me in to run Mercury Records, in England, and I. So it was my first gig. And I went straight in at the top. I had never been the boss of people, and it was a strange thing, because when you work your way up from the bottom and you have this sort of trajectory, you learn things slowly. What I did not comprehend was I couldn't prioritize the difference between something important and something not important. I think when I look back, so I put as much emphasis on unimportant as important. So I didn't sort of have this big picture. I didn't sit at the top and go, okay, teamwork, I need to build my team, and to have this structure where I sit at the top, not making all the decisions, because I'm a sort of control freak. So I was like this headless chicken trying to do everything and ending up not prioritizing. And I lasted a good 2 years. I had hit records,
yeah.
and but really it was it was not what I was not there for what I was supposed to do, which was to help sign UK bands to break in America. That's what Lucy and I think what we need to do, you know. So, but the great thing is that I had a good contract. I got paid out, and just as I got fired, I was U2 had come to the point, and I mentioned this on the How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb album. They'd come to this point where they had to get rid of the producer. They had to, and I'd probably say it because it's the same guy who took over from me with the Pretenders, which was Chris Thomas. Was
see, in part one you wouldn't say his name, but how things have changed.
Yes, but no, I've just realised that it's fine, and I took over from him on the U2 album, and so it was actually a really good time because I got fired, which freed me up to go into the studio. And I went in, and that was when I won
several.
That was when I won. That was when I several of these actually.
Yeah.
But I won the one that is the Holy Grail, really, which is Producer of the Year, non-classical.
Yeah.
Well, fuck that, non-classical. Why the fuck is it non-classical?
Well, because they have a different award for the classical Producer of the Year. That's why.
Yes. So why don't they have Producer of the... Oh, my internet connection is unstable, it just said.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Okay. Why don't they have Producer of the Year stop and Producer of the Year classical?
I don't know.
They don't say Producer of the Year for everything not classical, do they? I mean, it annoys me.
It really bugs you. It really bugs you.
Oh, it's a
joke. You could get a Sharpie and just color that part in, and it would just say Producer of the Year.
Yeah, I could do that, couldn't I? It's over there, actually. It's in the shelf. I've only got 2 of them here in Indonesia because probably, as you know, Andrew Scheps, they're rather heavy.
They are rather heavy. They are the proper weight for a major award, though, I gotta say.
They are, and I think I just need to go and piss on mine. Excuse me.
All right.
That's a well, we all know what happened, right? We all know that because we all keep up with the news.
Go on. Fill in the blanks.
Did you not know the news?
Which news? No, I don't know if I know the
About
news.
Kanye West pissing on his Grammy.
Oh, is this part of his presidential campaign? Is that?
I think he'd had a late night
and thought it was a toilet. It's
he's going through that thing that Prince went through. When Prince had Slave and all that, because he's poor boy. He's only just realized what a record deal is.
Yeah.
He's only just realized that he doesn't make all the money from his own art. And probably because he signed to Def Jam, that was then, a blah, 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 blah. It's, I don't know. I think record companies, I'm not sure they're, I've been, as I said, and here we segue back
exactly
very nicely into that, where I was on the other side. And I have to say, there are some dark things. I've been in accountants meetings where they are trying to basically do the books so that an artist doesn't get paid and they get their bonus. I mean, it's not illegal, but it's certainly not moral. Certainly not moral.
No, and it's a staple of what goes on now because of the advances from streaming companies that aren't assigned to particular artists and things. It is the business model now, actually.
Yeah, well, that's how, they make that, it is the business model. And, you look at Daniel Ek is worth 1.2 billion, and before him, the richest, what was his name? Clive Calder, I think, was probably the richest guy from the music business. purely because he sold his record label on a Jive, I think. It was just a fantasy.
All right.
He just Clive Calder. No, he made $1 billion. But you know, Paul McCartney is only just close to that. You know,
That's a shame.
It's a shame. Well, you know, I'll give it to Paul McCartney.
Well, exactly. No, I'm joking. I mean,
Daniel
that man has earned some money. You know,
he had.
I mean, he deserves some money. He has earned it as well. Anyway, the words. Now we're getting okay. So look, you come in to Mercury, which was a little bit of a rehabilitation project too, because Mercury had not done much at the time. But you did sign Razorlight, which did well. The Jason Mraz record while you were there, but I guess you didn't get the big break in the States and things like that. But ironically, a year after you're fired from there, you end up at Columbia.
At Columbia Records, with it was like towards the end of Donny Ienner, who was, you know, one of these larger than life New Jersey big record guys. You know, he was probably the last record guy, and I did a couple of years there, and it was okay, and I was certainly a lot better. But of course, you know, when your boss gets fired, you know, someone comes in and they have to do their thing. And I would, and you know, they wanted Rick to come in and run everything. And you couldn't have Rick Rubin there and me there. You know, that's two producers at a record label. And you know, Rob, what's his name? Stringer.
Yeah.
Rob Stringer. So he pretty much ousted me, you know, because Rob Stringer was brought in when Donny Ienner was fired, and you know, it's.
But you did sign MGMT, right?
Yes.
Which
they were fantastic. I mean, no, there was the A&R person on. You see, this is where I had learned that I need to be, you know, have my team. So we had this great Maureen, her name was, the A&R person, basically brought me MGMT, said, what do you think of this? I went, oh my God, that's fantastic. Go for it. So, you know, she was the one doing the heavy lifting.
Right.
You know, but it was under my team. It was my, you know, she was in my team. So,
right.
So I'd like to say, you know, but you know, I don't like to take too much.
Look, you've done plenty that you can take credit for. So I love the fact that you don't feel the need to do that. But I do know when Rick took over that he was super excited about MGMT too. Like he loved them.
Of course, you know, they were great.
So did the Columbia job happen because you were offered it and again it was a salary, or did you kind of feel like you wanted a second chance at it?
Well, I'd just come off the U2 album. And I remember going into Donny Ienner's office, and before Vertigo was released, and, you know, sort of putting on a tape and saying, listen to this is the new U2 single, before it even came out. And I think that sealed the deal, because they heard it and went, oh my God, you know,
we need some of that.
Edge doing a song with bar chords. He's only ever written one song with bar chords, and that was Vertigo, you know, or Native Son, as it was called before I worked on it, but we've gone through that. I think we have. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think we did Native Son. Because,
well, we definitely talked about the power chord thing.
The power chord. Yeah. So I played Vertigo to Donny Ienner, the head of Columbia and Sony, and that sealed the deal. So I got the job, and you know, but look, and after that, you know, you don't really get. I was lucky to get 2 goes, you know, and you know what? Having spent my whole life with creative people, that's my world. My world isn't talking to even marketing people. It's like, it's a different job. And I don't, you know, it's not. And I think I've probably, you know, I can't ever say early on in my career, any A&R man has helped me do my job. So in the back of my mind, they're all fucking leeches in a way, you know. And I don't mean that individually, they're lovely people, but as a thing, you know, it's like, well, I said to you, I hate it when A&R men say, I made that album. Not on my watch, Buster. None of my albums have been made by an A&R man.
No, I mean, I think probably 1961 or something was the last time an A&R person made a record. I mean, there are some who produce, but that's a different story.
Yeah. But now, you know, but certainly back in, you know, 2000 and that, people were doing it. But A&R men were saying, they were taking claim of, you know, because their bosses didn't understand studios. So it's like, hey, he told me he made this album. It's a hit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's you know, it's that, you know, fucking Clive Davis. I fucking hate him. You know, the way that he's just taken the all the glory. You know, yes, he did well, but you get paid for that. Give the glory to the artists. Anyway, that's what I'm saying.
Spake Lillywhite.
Yes. So yes, after that, I decided that carry on.
All right.
I would just be a studio guy.
So here's a record that I believe timeline-wise is right around there. Chris Cornell's record. Carry on.
Oh right, well, Chris Cornell called me up and said, would I like to work on an album with him? And yeah, we came to LA to do it. It was great fun. Oh God, I'm trying to think of the name of the studio.
Location?
The other side.
The other side. So the valley or the west side?
The valley, yes, that's what it's called. Somewhere around there.
Somewhere in the valley.
Because I remember going over the hill every day on my car. The guy who owns it was a producer, but what's his name? Always used to do great Halloween parties. I know what you're talking about. And his name he's a really long name, and he produced one of those sort of, not Weezer, those sort of.
No. I know. Yeah, he was Baumgartner, Jay Baumgartner.
Jay Baumgartner. Oh, of course. Oh, God,
and I'm not going to remember the name of the studio, but yes, the Halloween parties were epic.
Well, fantastic. Oh, I love those. You know, it took me a lot. Well, you know, being sort of middle-class English, I know it was only in LA that I really understood how the most normal person for 364 days of the year would wear a suit and not feel anything, would on Halloween get dressed up as a bunny and not care about it. For me, I was completely embarrassed by doing anything, you know.
Right.
I mean, because and I realized that the reason people do it in America is they've done it since they were kids.
Well,
so
yeah.
They absolutely have no. I never did it.
Now, that said, Halloween. Though, there is a very long history of cross-dressing in the English male.
Absolute. Eddie Izzard is one of my favorites. I mean, you know, the guy is a genius. But it's not been me.
No.
I've not really...
So, Mark, help me out. The studio is NRG. There you go.
Duh.
Yeah.
As you would say.
All right.
I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm so sorry.
Chris
Cornell.
Because it's an interesting record because it's his second solo record.
Yeah, and his first one is vastly superior, really. You know, it's a psychedelic record. My album's a bit more of an adult, almost AOR type record. You know, I mean, it's a rock record, but there was no record company involvement. No one. Okay, Chris was one of these. He was really, you know, his death is still a mystery to me. I don't know if he. I mean, he was so happy. I cannot believe suicide.
I have a small theory, but we'll get to that after.
Yeah.
And only because it's based on. I worked on the Audio Slave records, and I have some personal experience with people on the same kinds of medications. So, but anyway.
Yeah. I think it may have been. I think it was a mistake. Whatever.
Yeah.
Because he was not a drinker. He was in a certain anonymous program, which I'm in. You know, and that's fine. And he was very happy and a family man. But I remember the first day he arrived. He's a big star. Not one roadie, not one crew, nothing. Just him. Got his amp out of his car, brought it in, put it down. I mean, I never saw anyone else other than Vicky, and the kids would come now and again, but it was just him. So I had this vision, and sometimes when I was working, he would be out in the green room at NRG, and he'd be on his BlackBerry, and I'm going, that's it. He's running this big operation virtually, because he was on this busy on his on his BlackBerry. So one day I go out in the green room, and he's on his BlackBerry like this, and I go over and I look over his shoulder, and he's playing the brick game.
Of course he is.
Absolutely not running. I mean, his life was so simple. I mean, it was there was nothing. But learned a lot from him. One thing that he did, which I couldn't, he was out doing a vocal, and so many singers, you finish a vocal and you say, that was great. I said, do you want to do it again? They'll go, yes. So you go back and you run it again. With Chris, and I don't know if you got this, but This is the only singer who's ever done this to me, and I love it. At the beginning, when I didn't know his system, he'd finish a vocal. I go, yeah, great vocal. Do you want to do another one? Silence. Nothing. He didn't say anything. And then I realized that, okay, is he angry at me? Is he blah, blah? So I kept quiet. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, nothing. He goes, okay, let's do it again. It was...
Yeah. The first Audio Slave record was exactly the same. He'd be sitting in a chair with a C12 in front of him. You'd get to the end of the tape, roll it back, and wait. Sometimes there'd be a little chit-chat or banter. Most of the time, silence.
Yeah. He was just grounding himself. And really, of all the singers I've worked with, he had the tenor, the falsetto, and he had the rasp. Now, I don't know if you were you ever next to him, because I got into these backing vocals in the control. It's so quiet.
Yeah. Well, he sang the first Audio Slave record sitting down and would just kind of go like that when it needed to push. But that's why he can do it for 12 hours a day.
He can, but he says he has a natural tear in his vocal cord that enables him to do that sort of, the rock sound.
Yeah.
Without doing it loud.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, that's how you do it. And that's how he can get all three levels, the falsetto, the rock sound, and the that as well, very impressed. But I have to say this, and I suppose it's slightly bitchy thing to say, but no, it's just that, okay, when it came to comping the vocals, he wanted to be in there. And I said, please, just let me, I love to do this, but without the artist in, because I want to, So he said, are you sure? I said, yeah, please. And look, I'll present you with the vocals. And if you don't like it, of course, blah, blah, blah. So he goes out on the brick game probably. And, and so I comp the vocal, and he comes in and he goes, oh my God. Oh, done. Sounds great. And he goes, you know what, Steve? Every time I let Rick Rubin do it, I hated what he did. Look, I'm sorry. I have to say that. That's a true story. What can I say?
It's all right.
But, yeah, so it's like, but, maybe he was doing that for my confidence, or whatever.
No,
but,
I think that was it was an issue. I mean, he ended up singing that first Audio Slave record 3 times. Because Rick was looking for something else. There was just it was an aesthetic choice. So I don't think it was. It wasn't because it was done badly. It just wasn't what Chris wanted out of his vocals. To the point where he recorded all of his own vocals by himself after that.
Right. I heard. Yeah. Okay. Well, so I don't feel so bad. But another great thing about that. I mean, I think probably the best. The Bond song was done before me, which is okay. you know. But we did this version of Billie Jean as a sort of ballad. And what was great, and I think this concept is a really strong concept, which anyone else can take this, but what Chris did was he took a fast tempo 4/4 song in 4/4. He slowed it right down, but took out one of the beats.
Right.
So it still went fast, but as a slow 3/4 song. Then it's in like a movie queen, and I am the one, the kid, you know, and it really worked, and it didn't sound sluggish, even though it was so slow, because he turned a 4/4 song into a ballad, you know, into a 3/4 waltz, and you know, you can. It's a really creepy song when you hear the lyrics with the way Chris sung them, and it was great, you know. But there was not the record company involvement. They didn't really know how to market it, and you know, as I say, and I was disappointed that it didn't do so. It didn't do better. I think probably too many songs on the album. It was too long, you know. Sometimes you need, and maybe I should have edited some of the songs. They were a bit long as well. Nothing came under four and a half minutes. So it was a bit meandering maybe. But and then of course he went and sort of went even more down a sort of strange road that I have to say I didn't think was a great, you know. I'm all for, you know, artists thinking they're David Bowie and change, you know, or Madonna, funnily enough, and changing their you know, and reinventing themselves.
Yeah.
But this was a strange reinvention.
Well, I mean, even Bowie's got I can't remember the name of it, but I've got it, like the drum and bass type record, and that didn't quite happen. I mean, there are things that are a stretch, and what's interesting about it to me is always you find out what a gigantic influence this genre that has nothing to do with what the musician has done their entire career has had on them. And instead of saying it's my muse and I get something from it, they get the freedom and then want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And why not? I guess, but
why not? But it's a bit like these really old artists making an album when they don't really have anything to say. You know, it's like the sort of Paul McCartney, Elton John syndrome, where you sort of tarnish your career by making albums. I think, you know, funnily enough, Billy Joel, who Rick also fucking wanted to produce, who I was very lucky to at least get involved with him. You know, no one at the time would have really said Billy Joel was brilliant. You know, he was a jobbing songwriter.
Yeah.
And probably if no other music had been made, he would never have made any music, because everything he did was sort of the Tin Pan Alley sort of, you know, I mean, you know, if Elton John hadn't done his songs, he wouldn't have done his song. You know,
yeah, it's the storyteller at the piano, and
he was one step behind all the records that he sounded like. But the great thing about Billy Joel, he hasn't wanted to make an album because he's not got anything to write about now, which makes me think that if there ever was a new Billy Joel album, it would be fucking great, because he will have decided he has something to write about. Right. And that is what an artist should be like, you know, because I don't know, you know, what has Paul McCartney got to write about? You know, he's a lovely guy, and he makes great albums, but anyway, I won't.
No, don't get yourself in trouble with a Beatle.
No. Okay, favorite Beatle, John or Paul?
Those are my only choices.
Well, you know,
because I think at times I'd go George. I think that harmonically the songs were always more interesting. They were darker. But were there enough George songs? All right.
Into contention?
All right. Look, if I had to choose between them, I would go John. I think that
you're wrong. You're completely wrong.
Well,
I was listening to the Beatles on
Why?
shuffle,
Okay.
and he wrote some not very good ones.
See, I think they all did, and I think that's where their solo albums initially were kind of a drag. They were a great sum is greater than the parts thing.
Okay, just let me. Oh, of course, but let me. Okay. So you say obviously Paul wrote the best ballads, right?
Yes.
In the Beatles,
Timeless.
But who wrote the best rock song the Beatles ever did? Paul. Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
Best fucking rock song the Beatles ever wrote was a Paul song. Now, you can also argue what's the most successful Beatles song ever, which was George, which was something, right? Hasn't that been agreed that did better than anyone else's?
Has it? Oh, I don't know.
I think something was. Yeah, the greatest ever Beatles song was something. I don't know how you define great, so we would have to fact check that one.
Yes, but this isn't the kind of show where we fact check anything. We just say whatever the hell we want.
No, exactly. But no, I've loved Paul's. I loved Wings, you see. I thought Wings were fucking Jet, a Band on the Run, Listen to What the Man Said. These were just brilliant records. And they were rough as fuck. They were not recorded sonically great, but very, very good records.
Yeah.
I digress. We're not talking about the Beatles.
Well, no, but that's fine. I think we should. Why not? Everyone wants to hear what we think about the Beatles.
Okay, well, just one. This is for me, the Beatles productions were fantastic.
Yeah.
As you obviously, we all think that. But then when you play that game of who did the greatest improvement with a cover version rather than the original, right?
Interesting. Okay.
You may go, okay, well, Jeff Buckley, he really improved Hallelujah, and even Leonard Cohen said that, right?
Yeah.
You could say Sinead O'Connor's version of Nothing Compares to You. Have you listened to Prince's version? It's not very good. It doesn't convey the emotion that Sinead O'Connor does. For me, the greatest one is a Beatles song.
All right.
Well, after the break, we'll tell you.
Are we having a break?
After the break. Okay, this section of the show is brought to you by
the monkey. By the Grammys. Should I go get one just to show off?
Oh, we'll play them off.
Yeah.
One of how many? Just remind me, Andrew.
3, but you have way more than 3. You only have 2 with you, though. So if we did
Yeah. I only have double the amount of you, but double 3 is 6.
It's a hell of a lot.
In our world, we don't get nominated for many of them.
No.
I mean, there's one thing saying I worked on a record that won a Grammy, and a lot of people say I won a Grammy for that because they worked on the record that a Grammy was awarded for. But not many, the actual studio staff, producers, engineers, and they, it's like album of the year, rock album of the year.
Yeah, a few of the genre categories, and then rock and song of the year, and that's
really
it.
Not that many. Yeah.
Album of the year.
Okay, so
all right. So this session was not brought to you by Naris, but
Naris, that's the name of the company. It's with a little help from my friends. The Beatles version compared to Joe Cocker's version.
Right. Yeah.
You listen to the lyric. I mean, for me, a great version of a song is how that lyric is conveyed to the audience. And the 2 other versions, Hallelujah and Nothing Compares to You, a great version. They far out exceed the original writer's interpretation of that song. But with a little help from my friend, Joe Cocker does a much better version than Ringo.
Well, I won't argue there, and I'm going to bring something up that might rub you the wrong way. Then, because again, this is a Rick thing. This is a Rick thing. I would say that. Well, that costs money. I think, and I haven't thought this through, but if I had to choose like my favorite cover that had brought something new to a song, I would say it's the Johnny Cash version of Hurt.
Hurt?
In terms of listening to the lyric and owning that.
Is right up there. That is right up there. You know, I mean, the original version was hidden. Let me think that.
And the original version is great, but you don't realize what an amazing song it is at all.
What it is. You don't realize. No, I mean I've often quoted that as one of the great ones. I mean, oh my God, that was Rickus's absolute best.
Yes.
At his finest.
Yes, and it was undeniable. I mean, from the very beginning. I mean, I recorded an overdub on it, and we put that up, and I just lost my mind. I wasn't even Benoit Tench playing piano, and I didn't pay attention to him at all. I don't care. I want to listen to the vocal. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, I just saw a great Johnny Cash interview on Michael Parkinson. You don't remember him? He was before he moved to England. Oh. One of the late night, very English back in those days, in the 70s, the accent was much less multicultural. It was less of a multicultural society. And I love the multiculturalness of the British society now. But back then it was quite funny. Johnny Cash was on. It was just awesome. Anyway, I was just watching that the other day. You should get back on Facebook, Andrew, because you get, well, unless you've seen that fucking documentary on Netflix, The Social Dilemma. Have you seen that yet?
No, haven't seen that.
Oh, it's the thing everyone saw. It's not actually that good, but it does make you think, it's actually not good.
I just got off it because it was a time suck. I'm not productive, You know
what I like about it, though, is that there are many people in this world who you don't really feel close enough or have the inkling to make a phone call and say hi to. But there are many people in this world that you're fond of. And just by clicking like or a little comment or something like that gives you a connection to them. And that's something that we never used to have. It was either a phone call or a letter or nothing.
Right.
So, but this is that halfway point of communicating with people that enables you to communicate with all the people from your past who really, you wouldn't really want to see them. Or maybe you do, but you don't.
No, it does give you a great interaction point. But can I just very quickly, we'll get back to you in a second, but let's talk about me for...
Talk about you, Andrew.
Just when I realized that I was making the right decision is I posted that, hey, I'm taking a break from Facebook. And then I immediately went to the settings page, and all you do is you click on suspend account or something like that. And I was delaying pushing suspend account to see how many people liked my post about me leaving. And after about 5 minutes, I said, holy shit, you're an idiot. Hit the button. And I hit the button. And I'm glad I did. It's just...
Are you glad?
Yeah. I mean, I miss some things, definitely. And you know what I miss? You know what I also miss is there is, like, when you hear something great. Like, have you heard the new Alan Johannes record, Hum?
I have not.
Holy shit. You need to listen to this record. But on Facebook, I would have posted about it. I would have just said, hey, Mike, I'm listening to this record. It's insane. And Alan Johannes, I mean, that's the Chris Cornell connection again, because he did one of Chris's solo records. But this record is astounding. It's one of my favorite things I've heard in years. So.
Ooh, really?
But
can you just text me that on WhatsApp?
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark, please put it in the chat. It's Alan, Alain, Johannes.
Oh, Alan, yes.
Anyway.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's get back to you.
Oh, who cares?
This has gone off the rails, man.
Can we talk about Matchbox 20?
We haven't talked about Matchbox 20.
I would love to talk about Matchbox 20.
Let's talk about Matchbox 20.
Proud of the record I did with Matchbox 20.
Let us talk about them.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the song was called How Far We've Come. Now, okay, for me as a producer, I sort of before I worked with them, I would have put Matchbox 20 in this sort of Goo Goo Dolls-ish sort of genre of competent, mid-level, guitars left and right going chug, chug, chug. Not really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Good singer, but nothing that made me, cheers. nothing that would really stand out. But I went into NRG with Matchbox 20, and if you're not familiar with this song, just the song How Far We've Come, I recorded. Okay, it was one of these things that the drummer didn't want to play drums, so we got another drummer in. But on the main song, he said, I want to double track the drums. He said, I want to play the drums, but I said, okay, let's do it this way. I've never done this before. I've never recorded two drummers at the same time, right? So we set up in NRG main room, like two drum kits facing each other, right? And each individually mic'd up as you would, and ambience all around the room for everything. The way I panned them, I panned one drum kit from hard left to center. So center, I had the right overhead, and hard left, I had the left overhead. And the other drum kit, I had hard right to center, right? You got that?
Yeah.
So like the bass drum were like that. One of the parts was slightly more, one's just doing the high. It was, and then I had the whole sort of mess of the drums through the ambience. So it was like quite vague in its stereo positioning, and it starts off with drums as well. So you really hear a great sound at the beginning. But even more interesting is that my engineer at the time, CJ Erickson, who's a lovely guy, it was like BlackBerries. It was just at that time when you could record something on your BlackBerry and email it to someone. And I thought this was so cool that I actually, on my BlackBerry, I said, hello, hello, hello. And I emailed it to CJ. He put it on the beginning of the song, right, really early on in the recording process. And the band thought it was really funny because it's English accent and stuff. When it comes to mixing, I go, okay, like get rid of that now, and they went, no, that's staying. So if you listen to this song, you hear at the very beginning, hello, hello, hello. It's got so much energy, and it's really, really great. It's been used for political rallies and things. And it was, I really wish I'd done more with them. I really enjoyed them. They were great, and it was not my kind of band. And it was, I think it was the biggest hit in Australia that year. It was 12 weeks at number one in Australia, which was really great. And it was a completely fresh sound for Matchbox 20, who, as I say, probably as much as I liked all the other songs, it was a little turgid maybe, or just not I don't know,
right,
corporate rock maybe. I don't want to say bad things because
no. I know exactly what you're saying, and it's hard to describe because it's also undeniably great musicians. There's great songwriting. The craft is definitely there.
Craft rather than art. I think what I gave them a lot more art, So check that one out.
I will.
And, it was a good little thing, and I wish I'd done more with them because I saw a little avenue that they could have gone down to upgrade their sound and still be successful, and they didn't keep with me, because I think they were signed to, who was their producer who did all their records?
Oh, God,
very, very tall man. A very, very tall man.
A very, very tall man. That's
interesting. Who has his own label, and they were signed to his label. That then went.
I'm going to feel like an idiot when Mark tells me who it is, but I'm not. That's not ringing a bell. I should know this.
And he produced all of Matchbox 20's records up till then. So he was the record label and he was the producer.
Right. So getting another producer involved is not in his
Mark,
interest.
You do look, I was doing the Googling. Mark, do the Googling. So bad. So anyway, we'll it's very tall. How tall are you?
Almost 6'4".
Oh, you're also a very tall man.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's tall. That's not. I don't think people would say very tall. And I'm shrinking. I'm probably not that tall anymore.
No, maybe very in small letters, not in big letters. But but anything over 6'3", that's that's pretty tall. Have you started shrinking yet?
I probably have. Yeah.
But you don't know. You don't do that thing up against the wall.
No.
Because you do that with kids. You do that with your kids, don't you?
Oh,
you should do that.
Oh, Mark Matzeletic. But no.
Matzeletic.
Well, he had his own label, but I mean, he was in the band, right?
No, he wasn't in that.
Not at all.
No, not at all. He was
Okay, I'm getting things confused then. Okay, right.
Yeah. But he used to do all, this whole thing. And I look, many hit records have been made with power chords on the beat, stereo panning.
Yeah.
I hate that. It's like, if you're going to bolster up a chorus with power chords, at least do it like with a fucking smashing on a piano, or, just doing an electric guitar is the most complacent fucking thing in my book, that, and people there's a horrible muso name for people for those things. Cloud. No, do you know the word? No.
I know what you mean.
There's a word guitarist,
Well, I mean, sometimes they say footballs. Just hit it once and let it
Footballs,
go.
that's what it is. I fucking hate that. Makes me so angry. Footballs.
Well, you know why? Because a whole note looks like an American football. The shape of it. So you're playing footballs.
That's so fucking horrible.
Wow.
Also, another thing I hate, people who say shits and giggles.
You hate that.
Not a fan of shits and giggles.
Interesting.
You either do, also, dirty little secret. No.
Yeah.
Thing is, you either like it or you don't. Embrace what you like. Is that dirty little secret? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, be proud of what you like. Don't fucking, who cares?
Or the guilty pleasure is.
Oh no, it's guilty pleasure. That's the word, not dirty little. That's a dirty little secret is a Bob Lefsetz thing. He always does that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mixed it up. Guilty pleasure. I hate the term guilty pleasure.
Yeah, as if you're not supposed to like it. But
you're not supposed to like it.
But I would say Matchbox 20 on a lot of people's guilty pleasure lists.
Well, if they like my song, but if they like the other songs, I don't think so.
Well, all right then.
I'm such a bitch. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So, okay, there's still plenty of stuff. We're not going to keep you up crazy late.
No, the coffee's still working. I might actually. I've only got 35%.
Oh, you want to plug in?
35% on but then I have to move. But the good news is that just outside my apartment is hang on. Just outside my apartment, I've got my private jet, so I'll just pop in and.
I love that you have no power outlets in your apartment, but you do have a private jet that has a power outlet.
I have my private jet just standing here. So just let me put my kettle on. So I've already pre-boiled my water about an hour and a half ago. So I'm just, I can show you Jakarta at night. No.
Are we going to fly over it?
We are going to fly. No. Hang on. I'm just fixing my hot water. We had a hell of a storm. We have incredible storms here because we're near the equator, and actually, if we keep this going long enough, at about 4:30 in the morning, we will hear the call to prayer, which is or what I call mulla mulla, and I call it mulla mulla, and they all and my staff at work, when they go and do their prayers in the afternoon, they now say to me, "Sir, mulla mulla time." So I say,
wow.
Have a word for me. Save my soul, please.
It's not the easiest country to be an atheist in, is it?
You know what? They are so lovely. The people here, they just look at you and they smile knowingly.
Right.
Because they have so much faith and so much. Well, that's what faith is, isn't it? The purposeful suspension of critical thinking. That's a good one, isn't it?
That is a good one.
the purposeful suspension of critical thinking, the definition of faith. But hang on. Oh, you know that thing when the water's boiling and then it gets quiet just before it goes tick?
Yeah.
We're at that quiet stage. So any second
fantastic.
now. Oh, isn't that a lovely
Very
thing?
exciting.
Oh, there it goes. It just went. So I'm just putting.
Now careful, because hot water, boiling water, and a jet don't always.
Oh
mix.
yeah. We're hitting some
turbulence.
Some turbulence.
Yeah.
Turbulence.
Well, so while we're in turbulence mode.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to be a.
Can I ask you a couple? Because it's interesting. You were talking earlier about you took over for Chris Thomas, and Chris Thomas took over from you on a record and things like that. And I was thinking the record that you were working on in LA when I was too scared to come and introduce myself was the Seal record that you were working on for a little while.
Right.
And I was just wondering if you want to talk a little bit about like because you've had such an eclectic and successful career, but obviously even there's some records that don't work out. And
look, we've all worked on things that no one is there a term bats 1,000?
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe a baseball term. No one bats 1,000, not even Mutt, you know. And Mutt, of course, has made some of the greatest records of all time, but not even him. But boy, he tried to. There was a band called City Boy. Did you ever hear of City
No.
Boy? No. Well, Mutt Lange produced 5 of their albums, right? And I almost think that every time it was like, shit, everything I've done has been successful. I've got to have success with City Boy. Got to do another one. I've got to do another one.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think it was 5. It was certainly a few. I engineered for well, not that I was engineering much, but Mutt was producing a jingle in my phonogram, right back before we even started this interview in terms of timeline, right? And it was one of the only times ever I was engineering for it. It was overdubbing of some congas on a 30-second radio TV commercial, and he must have got this guy to do it, like, you know, kept going over and over again, do it again. So which one I start to think, okay, which one's he going to say is the right? And then when he said, "Yep, that's the one," I went, I couldn't tell the difference. You know, it wasn't like, wow, yes, that one, it's great. No, I couldn't. Maybe because I was very young and didn't really understand. I don't know, but and another time. So I became a little bit friends with Matt. He was working at Trident, right, doing some mixing, and it was just incredible. And I popped in because Trident was in Wardour Street, you know, centre of London. And I popped in to say hi to him. And he goes, "Oh, Steve, hi. Oh, I need you." I said, "What?" He says, "Okay." And he had like 2 mixing desks and he had 4 engineers, right? And he said, "Okay, on the second chorus, can you just turn this fader?" Because all hands had been used for everything. No automation. Can you just turn this up? So I was sort of hung around for an hour and I had to do, you know, a little bit of manual because he literally didn't have, what an incredible guy.
But also the worst choice on the planet for jingles. Like, that's insane.
But he'd never really had a hit record.
I know, but I love the fact that he was already producing like Mutt Lange.
Like
on the conga player on like an ad for gum, you know.
Yes, exactly. Although, you know, he's not my favorite producer. Although he's very impressive.
Who is your favorite producer?
Oh, has to be Trevor Horn.
Well,
Trevor
okay.
Horn
so
this is where we get back to the.
This is where we get back. Yeah. So, but let's talk about Trevor Horn, and I'd love to go down that road for a second.
Well, for a start, Trevor has done more things on records that make me go wow than any other producer.
So what are a few of your favorite moments of his? I'm just curious.
The middle of Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Yeah.
It's just like boom, blam, boom, dang, dang, boom, bam, 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 bam.
Now, you can make the argument if you've heard the Trevor Rabin demo that Trevor, I mean, not that Trevor Horn didn't do an amazing amount. I mean, for me, with Yes,
Oh, really?
the fact that Trevor Horn is the only person other than John Anderson to ever sing lead vocals on a Yes song, and he did a whole record, is insane
he
to
did.
me.
He was the lead singer of Yes, as well as the lead singer of Buggles.
Yes.
And I don't know. So is there a demo version of Owner of the Lonely Heart?
Yeah, the Trevor Rabin demos are kind of ridiculously fully formed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not that the records didn't step up hugely, because, I mean, Trevor,
Right.
but the raw material and a lot of the samples and things like that, that was a Trevor Rabin madness at home thing.
Oh, that's brilliant then. That's brilliant. I'd never realized that. Okay, well, that was great. I mean, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, just, relax. I mean, the Seal records were just brilliant. So getting back to Seal, I met with Trevor and we talked, and it was like, okay, Seal's in LA. He wants to change. He wants something different. And, for me, it was, we went and I wanted to put a band together, because that's what, for me, even if I work with a solo artist, I like the feeling of musicians. You always do that. Back in those days, that's what you would do. Nowadays, you get a pool of typists, but in those days, you got you
pool of typists.
You got musicians. That is the collective term for
yes,
typists.
yes, yes.
The pool of typists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did that, and we did some rehearsals, and we did like a sort of rough version of Kiss to a Rose, and which was okay, but it wasn't formed, it wasn't great, and I don't know, we didn't connect, and I was in LA. And I'd never worked in LA before.
Right, and you were at Conway, right? Because my friend Carmen Rizzo was there, because he had worked with Seal before, and I think he was supposed to be the common thread.
Right. Well, who I haven't seen since then, but
amazing guy, love him.
Yeah. It wasn't. And actually, I fired myself from that record, because I came back to London and had a meeting with Trevor and Jill, his wife, who was his manager, and basically said, "Look, guys, I don't think I'm doing a good job for you, And Trevor went, "Oh, okay. Well, is that the reason for this meeting?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm, I don't think I'm doing a good job." So actually, I walked out, because it's not fair on the artist, And I hadn't realized that Trevor is, what I love about Trevor is that he is fearless, And what I mean by fearless is he'll just throw everything away.
Yeah.
And now I've been told by people who work with him that he'll have 12 crazy ideas that are all not very good. He'll see them all through to the end, but his 13th one will be a fucking, will be the one. And he'll, he is the guy who will not, that thing of, you record an expensive orchestra on a song, you try and find a way of putting it in the mix.
Right.
Because you spend a lot of money on it. You try and put it in normally, doesn't work. Let's distort the orchestra. You try and distort the orchestra. Let's slap load of, echoes on it, and you do all this to try and make it work because you spent a lot of money on it. Sometimes just get rid of it, but a lot of people don't. They mess up their record by thinking that the expensive overdub is the best one.
Right. Now, let me ask you about this, because we were talking about the sort of pairings of artists with producers, and that sometimes, your idea of bands should work with lots of producers because they should.
Yes.
But then the corollary to that is there are some matches that are so much bigger than the sum of the parts that, like when we talked about, obviously, the Beatles with George Martin and Radiohead with Nigel Godrich, and there are some pairings. Oh, I'm glad we're at the pool now.
All right, yeah.
Excellent. So we've landed. But so I've got two like mini little theories about, let's talk about Seal in particular. One would be that Trevor is just the right kind of producer for him or whatever. But also, I've seen where you get an artist and they've made their first few records with a particular producer, and especially one with a way of working that is unlike any other producer on the planet. They think they want to do something new, and they're so lost in other people's production processes that they don't even know how to make the record a different way, and they realize they need the process as much as the producer. And I'm curious, only because Trevor's so different, if that was part of the Seal thing, you think? Like he just didn't get making a record that way.
No, you're absolutely right. You have fucking nailed it. And I think that's, you almost, it can be detrimental for an artist, and it can make them very passive as well. If you, I love an artist's involvement. They have to be involved. For me, the worst thing in the world is if an artist says to me, Steve, I'll do whatever you want.
Right.
I don't know what I want. What I want you to do is to say, Steve, I've got 10 ideas. What do you think of these? I go, okay, I love that one. That one, no good. That one's got a good thing to it, but if you can join that one to that one and blah, 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 and you do it like that. Seal was with, Seal was going, I'll do whatever you want, and it was because I think maybe Trevor was that person, and that's why my hat is off to him, because he's, he's just, he's probably, like all of us now, we're entering a slightly different phase of our lives, and I don't know if he's, there's a cat.
Yeah. Oh, empty mouthed. All good. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Because it is about that mouse time.
Yeah, it is. I was worried, actually.
Oh my God. So I didn't realize I'd done that much then, but I suppose I have done more stuff for part 2 than I realized. But yes, Seal, that was, it was randomly, it was the time I was living in the same house as Seal, and every day he would, come in with a towel around his waist, and he had a nipple ring. And I went, oh, did that hurt when you got that done? He goes, no. So one Saturday morning when we weren't working, I got up, I drove into Hollywood, and I got a nipple ring. And it was fucking painful, I'm telling you. It was painful for 3 months. And then after 3 months, you could like clip something on it and swing it round, and it was my party piece. But then I suddenly thought, I'm in my 40s now. It's sad, isn't it? A man with a nipple ring in his 40s. So,
well, whether it's sad or not, I would have immediately gone to, I will never look as good as Seal with or without the nipple ring. So I'm not going there.
He was carrying a few extra pounds at the time, I have to say.
Well, fair enough. So you were thinking you could out nipple ring Seal?
I don't know. No, the thing was, he always said, no, it didn't hurt when I got it done, but of course it fucking hurt.
He's just forgotten.
Yeah. But no, but unlike an earring, you can't take it out and put it back in again. So the moment you take it out, it's out for good.
Right.
So anyway, I digress.
Well, no, I'm glad we covered this. That's.
I think that needed to be told, right?
It did need to be told. It's a very odd little thing here. All right, look, so another band that I know you love, 30 Seconds to Mars.
Oh, the charismatic Jared Leto.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the Leto brothers, but definitely Jared is.
Yeah.
Jared is Jared.
Jared he's the alpha male. He's the businessman, the
Oscar-winning actor.
Oscar-winning actor. Which when I was working with him, he hadn't won the Oscar. He great artist, a great actor, and I think maybe one thing that you try and unlock an artist and try and get them to maybe shorten the period of time it takes to make the record or whatever, or at least try and, he looks at making a record the same way as you look at making a movie, which is like nothing is left to chance. There is nothing that comes like in a movie. Like, for instance, if we're in a movie now, that amp head behind you, that would be placed there specifically, and the cat coming in now, that is part of the movie.
Now, I just want to point out it's a harmonium, only because I love my harmonium. But that's okay. That doesn't matter.
That harmonium in the background
would never be switched out for an amp. Yeah, you'd know exactly where it was.
Everything would be placed. For him, recording was like that. He was, and he is like an obsessive compulsive completely. I mean, the amount of time he spent, time after time, going line after, line of his vocals, and not getting it that great. And then he would, like, on a downtime, he would go in the studio. He had a studio at his house, which is always, there's no clock running.
Right.
So he would go and you have a very black.
Yes.
No, that was his style. He would go out into the studio with an acoustic guitar and just like start singing on acoustic and go, "Oh my God, that is brilliant." He is he can really do it live and really play. But for him, though, that was just mucking around.
Your audio cut out for a second, but.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Right. It was like a record is not like that. It's not done creatively from the spirit and from the moment. It has to be done like a film is made, like frame by frame. And it was just a bit of a pity that, I mean, he never once sung a song the whole way through. I mean, he would never once sung a whole verse almost. It was like one line at a time. But look, great. And I was very proud of the song Kings and Queens, especially. Because that song was sort of a mess. It had lots of... Am I okay? Am I not breaking up now?
No, you're perfect. Yeah.
I'm back now. Okay, Kings and Queens, because it was really a mess. And what I did was I completely changed the song around and even changed some chords in the verse, which was something that not something I would always do, often do, but I changed the chords in the verse and I changed it and, because it sculpted it, because it was sort of like a piece of rock when I got it. So I had to come in and it was all there, but you couldn't see it,
Right.
So I really had to sculpt it. And that was a huge hit and a great video. And, it worked really well. And the album was great. This Is War. The next album, he was getting more into less of a band and more of a synth stuff. So
right.
It was still a good album, and still did well. But yeah, he's and his brother, who is a very different character, has his own way, but also he never wanted to do the same drum beat,
right,
or another song. So he may have a great drum beat, but if he'd used it on a previous 30 Seconds to Mars song, he wouldn't use it on this one, which has a sort of finite life to it with
yes.
drum beat.
Yeah. It's there's a small library for that genre.
Yeah, exactly. But two great guys. The guitar player it's really Jared's band, was his thing. very diplomatic man, very and very powerful, actually, just in his persona. He could sort of look at you and just put on an act and really make you scared.
Right.
He's a great actor, and it's so funny. During the recording, he was going off for these auditions for this, this just goes to show how the movie business works. It was this superhero movie. This was a franchise. This was a lock-in 4 movies. This was the biggest thing you'd ever see. He was down to the last 2. And, and it was like, and let me tell you what the franchise was. Green Lantern. It fucking flopped complete. He didn't get the job.
Right.
But, at the time, it was the biggest thing in Hollywood. This was a no-brainer. This was a $100 million budget. It was everything locked in, the toys, everything about Green Lantern was going to be huge. And they only made 1 movie. And
he got an Oscar. So there you go.
Well, he got an Oscar for another movie.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So he must have thanked his lucky stars. He didn't get that.
So how did he respond to you completely reworking a song on Kings and Queens? So he was fine with it, but then did he have to go away and kind of remake his plan for the song, or was he adapting on the fly to that stuff?
No. He would spend a lot of time upstairs in his office, because one thing that he is brilliant at is, social media and interacting with his fans. As he one of his things, he always said, you have to work hard with your fans when you're on the road, but when you're off the road, you have to interact with them even more. Right. So he would be always, doing this. He had video, he was making a movie and video editing, and he had people doing the merch, and people, there was a whole cottage industry of people that was growing. It was it was
so exactly what you thought Chris Cornell was up to.
Exactly that. Although I thought with Chris Cornell, at least he would have the sort of long-haired ponytail roadie,
right?
But he didn't have that. And what Jared had was very sharp, bright, young Silicon Valley types. That was more his thing. It wasn't, it was very, he searched out these kids from the film school, would get them to come down and work for peanuts, probably.
Right.
But whatever. He was very, very clever. So I had a lot of time in the studio, which was like in the little basement of the house in the hill, Hollywood Hills, to just to work on the songs on my own. So I knew that Kings and Queens was a good one. So I just went through it and would change. It's funny. The old chords on the verse made it sound exactly like a U2 song, and that's funny. I didn't want it to sound like a U2 song. So I changed it, and he never ever said anything, because I don't. I'm not the sort of person to go, hey, I changed. I want, give me a bit of the publishing. That's what you do as a producer, is you do what you think is necessary. So it's never been my world. It's like, no, when people say, do you write songs? I go, well, I don't write a song from the beginning, but if there's things, I'd rather not have to do anything, because I'd rather do as little work as possible. But if I have an idea, I'll do it, but I'm so, not confident about that if I want, I have to be confident in what I've done, so it doesn't happen that often, because I've always managed to work with great artists. But if there's one thing on a record, I do think, that was just a dead rip off of U2, and they would have been, it wasn't as special as what it turned out.
Right. Right.
But it was a great time. We didn't work. We only worked till 7 o'clock at night, and it was good.
Yeah.
Next question.
Next question. Well, look, I want to be aware of the time as well, because it is getting late, and I know you love doing the questions from the peeps here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're leaving out some great bands and some other things. You had a radio show for a bit, which was quite cool.
I did. That was East Village Radio. That was so cool. Oh God, yeah.
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 Steve Lillywhite sessions. All right, look, you got a CBE. That's pretty damn cool.
That is just one down from a knighthood.
Exactly. So now, how are you going to parlay that into the knighthood? That's what I'm wondering.
Yep. You need charity work.
Well, can't you just trade in some Grammys with it? I mean,
no, you need charity work, and I believe in higher taxation at source. I don't believe in charity. Charity.
Fair enough.
How has charity changed the poverty in this world? Nothing. Charity allows rich people not to feel guilty. But there you go. That's my way of thinking.
There you go. All right, but you are a commander of the British Empire, which is pretty awesome.
Which is, yeah, it was, and I many people have turned it down.
Yeah.
So I was like number 9 on their list, so they went, oh, so
it's like my wife had a friend in London, and he was the emergency guest for, I don't remember which show it was, because he lived close. So if someone canceled, they're like, call Julian, get him on the show, and he'd show up and talk about horses or something. So you're saying you were like the emergency CBE.
Well, no, actually, I don't think I was, because the funny thing is that I was in America, and what they have to do is they don't announce it until you accept it, right?
Right.
So they had to get hold of me, and they couldn't get hold of me. I mean, I have social media. They were that stupid that they didn't just tweet me, So they eventually got hold of my son, who then gave them my phone number. But I was in Vegas working with the Killers, and the phone call came in, and it woke me up because of the time difference, and go, this is so and so from. You've just won what I thought they said was MBE, right? I went, oh, great, thanks. Oh, I was sleeping. I put it down. And for the next 2 weeks, I'm going around telling everyone I've won an MBE, but I can't tell anyone. And then the thing came through, and it was a CBE. Now, if you have a CBE, you can be a little bit snobbish about this, Andrew, because an MBE is the lowest of the rankings. It goes MBE, OBE, and there's many of those are given out. And then the top 2 are CBE and KBE, which is a night. And there are only a finite amount of those awards. So when someone dies, they bring someone else in, apparently. So I'm up there with Dave Gilmour, Roger Daltrey.
Yeah.
I'm below Paul McCartney and Elton John, but Dave Gilmour and Roger Daltrey.
Well, exactly. And do you have any idea like whose spot you got? Because that'd be kind of fun to know who died and like.
Who died? Well, it was probably
Do they just like cross their name off and write yours in crayon and?
I don't know how it works. I mean, someone nominated me, and I don't know who it was. But I certainly didn't run a campaign to get to get anything like that. I had no idea, as I say, but it was great. I took my mum, and I took. You're allowed me, my mum. Yeah, you're allowed 4 people total. So me, my mum, and 2 of my kids came, and and it's a great day out. There's an orchestra that plays, and I was Helena Bonham Carter was also getting a CD.
Excellent.
So I met her, and who was her husband at the time?
Tim.
Tim,
the director.
Tim, not as good as he used to be.
Yeah, but
Tim, One Trick Pony.
Well, it's a good trick, though. I mean, it's a several movie trick.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, yes.
Tim Burton. It is a one trick a little bit, but no, he was.
Yeah, Mark just texted me Burton. Yes,
Right, Tim Burton. Yeah,
we got there in the end.
we got there in the end. So yeah, and he was there, and it was great, and yeah, and there's music and the Queen, and and she has a little chat with you. But
What'd you say?
She said she wanted to know about a very obscure Psychedelic Furs B-side.
I don't think so.
I am joking. I mean, I was so.
But see, it could be like that. It could be like Veep, where she's got someone right behind her.
It's no. I was so sort of like, oh my God, I am as close to the Queen as I am to my laptop. I could stab her. No, but, we shook hands, and she was, it was something like, oh, music. Oh, that's very good. Well done. And
Right.
And one thing though, you couldn't turn your back. You had to walk backwards, and then go out sideways. But I got the Queen. I don't think she does many of them now. I think Charles does most of them because she's getting on a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But apparently it's her favorite thing to do, though.
Really?
Yeah. It's like she gets to meet
everybody.
Her people.
Yeah.
And it's most of these gongs, as apparently they're called, most of them go to just people who do good work. So me doing it for just being hedonistic is
well, are you sure you got it specifically for that?
Well,
for like advancing British hedonism? I don't.
It was for contributions to music.
Yes.
But
yeah. Well deserved. Well deserved. So look, let's do this. There are other records we could talk about. What we're not going to, unless there's something you want to bring up or something comes up in a question. Let's get you to where you live now and what you're up to, because you said at the very beginning of part one that you had a spiritual calling to Asia. And I know you've done a few production projects, but like, what was the order of things that got you to that region?
Okay. I was living in Hollywood. The whole thing about living in Hollywood, really, if you really want to make the most of it, and I know maybe Rick is a different person, but most of it is networking, right? Most of it is like you go to parties and blah, 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 and you network and that. Maybe it's because I'm English, but so I would occasionally go to a party and, like a fancy party, and someone would come up to me and says, hi, who are you? And I go, I'm Steve. Hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. And, within 2 minutes, what do you do? And it was like, I didn't understand that, right immediately, what do you do? And it was like, oh, I'm just here, like, blah, blah, blah. And I would make something up.
Yeah, a plumber.
Literally,
plumber is always a good one.
I would lie, and I would see his eyes suddenly just drift away from me. And then a minute later, he was gone. And then like an hour later at the party, he would come back. You never told me you were Steve Lillywhite, and he was like angry at me that I hadn't, said. So I didn't get that thing, I didn't get that thing. So, and I saw the music business more and more being, I was getting old, and it was more and more being Pro Tools, little modules of people, in their own little world. The Max Martins and this sort of recording, rather than musicians playing together and stuff like that. And I could have transferred into that, but I if I was young, maybe that's what I would have done. But it just didn't. I don't, as I say, the hedonistic part of me is just, I love hearing musicians play, and I love the interaction of musicians and battling with them and getting it, that's where I come from. And it just didn't excite me. So I had this thing about Asia. Anyway, so I got invited to give the keynote speech at a very, very nice a music conference in Singapore called Music Matters.
Mm-hmm.
Very big. It's the biggest thing in Southeast Asia. A lot of people go there, and I went, and And Singapore for me was a bit like Disneyland, actually. I was a bit disappointed with Singapore because it was very clean, very Western, beautiful, beautiful, very safe. You're not allowed to throw chewing gum on the floor.
Yeah.
I want the seedy underbelly of a place. I want to know where the bodies are buried, But I met a lot of people in Singapore, and so that led me on a sort of going to China, going to Korea, going to Thailand, and then back to but still living in Hollywood, just doing these trips. And then someone invited me. There was one of the biggest bands in Indonesia called Noah.
Yeah. There's some great videos of you working with the band, by the way, for people who want to have a look.
Mr. Homework, aren't you? You are Mr. Homework.
Mr. Homework. Yeah, that's my that's actually my given name. Andrew's just my nickname.
Homework Scheps.
Yeah.
The gentle Andrew Homework Scheps. Oh, you're such a great name. So yes, so I came over here to record this song "Hero" with the band, and it was, and all of a sudden I was, it was dirty, it was smoky, it was stinky, but I just remember seeing someone opening a CD and devouring the credits, and the people, and it was like, hang on, this is 15 years ago. There's still some room here for me, for what I like to do, and so just on a whim, I thought I would move here, and it was a whim, and it's so weird. I didn't know anyone. I mean, literally knew no one. I moved over here, and having only this band and the record label they were affiliated with, and the thing about Indonesia is that for rent, you have to pay a year up front for renting a house, an apartment. So I was like, I thought I'd maybe come here for a couple of months. Then I realized, no, I've got to lock myself in for a year. So I locked myself in for a year thinking, okay, then that's it. But I did the year then, and I did a couple of albums. It was great. And then I got sort of headhunted to, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, in Indonesia is a destination restaurant. Because Indonesia is mainly a Muslim country, 90% Muslim, 10% Christian. No, and a couple of Buddhists and Hindus and stuff. So there's no pork. So chicken and beef is really, it's also a third world country, so there's not much beef. They don't eat much beef. So chicken is their thing, and they love their chicken. They're proud of their chicken. I've never tasted chicken as tasty. I had it tonight for dinner. It was like tiny little village chickens that you order a chicken each, literally, because they're so small, because they're not stuffed full of, and they're so, it's not easy to chew. I mean, it's like chewy meat. It's almost gamey in a nice way. So KFC, if you ask anyone here, their favorite fried chicken, 8 out of 10 people will say KFC. It's priced at a sort of going out price. But the KFC restaurants here, they're not like KFC in the West. I mean, they have coffee shops, they have children's playgrounds, they're really clean. It's a great franchise. And about 8 years ago, the guy who was running it, who's the brother of my current boss, decided to bundle CDs with chicken. Right. People will always say to me, well, a bit like Starbucks. And I go, no, it's not like Starbucks. We're doing, right? For a while. You go in and you look at the menu and you can have a superstar combo, for instance. Such a cheesy name. But you get your chicken and you do this and you get a choice of CD. And the person, the server, has like a list of the CDs, and and you can look at them and go, oh, I'll take that one. or you could buy the CDs a la carte as well if you want. Now, this coincided with the closure of all the CD stores in Indonesia, right? So this started to become big business. And now when I took over the company, when the brother changed and the new brother came in, and they wanted someone to run this company, I mean, we've only got 10 CDs at any given point. We were doing 400,000 a month.
Good
Right?
God.
400,000 CDs a month. When I took over, now I've grown that, and I've introduced DVDs as well. So I do DVDs, and we now, well, before COVID, we were averaging 800,000 a month. And at Christmas, December, because it's more December than Christmas, because they don't do Christmas so much. We did over 1 million, 1.1 million CDs in a month. I run the biggest fucking record store in the world.
And are they selling like normal retail price? I mean, obviously with the meal, they're subsidized or whatever.
But no, they're cheap.
Right.
People here do not make... Look, this is the only country where people think YouTube pays a lot. I mean, literally, I'm sorry to say it's, but it's, I had a second life here, really, because I suddenly had a whole culture. There's 250 million people here. I have a whole culture here that I didn't know about. So I had to learn about the current stars. I had to learn the gossip, and they have their whole like version of television, right? Recently a couple of their huge stars have died, and stuff like that, and it's like all over the news, and it's like every single television, they take it seriously. They take music really seriously. Like my assistant is 24 years old, right? And we put out a compilation album of a orchestral conductor, right? With various, and like my assistant, oh my God, Erwin Gutawa, his name is. Now, everyone these young people wanted their photograph taken with him. It's that sort of, you can't imagine young people caring about conductors in the West, Oh, look, Simon Rattle, I would love my photo. No, fuck off. It's not like that. So here, there's a real love of music, and they have their own, they have their own musical styles as well. So I've had to learn everything. And and also because I have to, I want to sell more and more. I look at it like a football team. I want each of my CDs to be something that's really special. So I'll do something for the mum, something for the kids. I'll do and I basically, I do some mixing of some of them, but I have a great engineer here who is, and I've taught him a lot, but just in terms of what they earn here. I mean, if I do anything here, I just don't charge them because it's ridiculous. I say, just pay my engineer. I'll do it. I get paid by KFC. I get a salary. Right. But when I work with U2, and I've done some U2 mixing here as well, when Bono says, can you do this? And they send me the whether it's live or I've done some live things. I've done a remix of Red Hill Mining Town from Joshua Tree, which was amazing to do. My engineer, that U2 pay me Western rates, right? So I pass on that to my engineer, which is 7 times what he earns here, right? So I mean, not only does he love U2, he loves the payday as well. But it's no. So yeah, after COVID, it's a bit different. It's at the moment we've just gone into a tighter lockdown. So some of the stores are closed for the last 2 weeks, but we'll see how it goes. But I was, I don't know if it'll last that long because CDs will eventually, I'm basically selling people things that that they can get for nothing on YouTube.
Right.
They haven't quite worked it out yet.
Well,
but it's still the thing of they love the tactile thing. But I'm also I'm sort of making CDs a bit more like playlists now, because even if people don't have Spotify and stuff, people think more in terms of playlists. They don't think of albums as albums so much anymore. So I'm always searching for the big hit songs.
So it's mostly compilation CDs.
Well, I'm doing a mixture. As I say, I'm doing a mixture of compilations. There's a musical style called Dangdut, which is a sort of a mix of Indian music. Very interestingly, Dangdut was introduced to Indonesian youth culture in the 60s when the Beatles were starting to become big worldwide, because they didn't want that Western influence on their youngsters. So they thought, they're going to like something, we'll bring in the Indian music for them. So, but then this form of music has sort of morphed into sort of elements of reggae, and it's huge. And it's music that you go left and right to rather than up and down to. It's not a nodding music, it's a hit, it's like the Spanish, it's like it's a hit moving music. So it's exciting for me, and it's given.
So I'm just going to ask, what percentage of the music is from outside of Indonesia then?
No, for me, none.
None. So it's all local.
I don't sell any outside albums.
Right.
What's the point? I don't want my culture to become bigger here. I want to help them with their culture.
Right.
Because it's they have a very deep culture. Their music is great, and except they have all these fucking modulations. Oh. I don't think I've ever heard so many modulations, and they love their teary ballads.
Yeah.
But other than that.
And is there any of the traditional music, or is it all modern?
No. Well, Dangdut music has it's now, some people call it pop doot and stuff like that. It's tradition. I meant
more like the classical tradition from that area, which is pretty deep.
Well, it is, but it's also like kids' music as well. There's gamelan, which is like these ding, 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 ding. It drives you fucking mad. It's like kids.
I kind of like a gamelan, I gotta say.
You like it? Oh,
I do.
Well, no, but have you listened to it for 3 hours?
I have actually.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Where, out of interest?
Well, okay. It began.
Where?
It began. I did a project about 25 years ago or something like that. JVC had one of the founders of JVC. I don't know if he was a founder, but someone who had been at JVC from the very beginning at the Japanese company was a musicologist, and he traveled the world recording indigenous music from everywhere. Amazing.
Yeah.
And so they had a catalog, and I've got a huge stack of them still, a catalog of CDs of all of the music that became famous because the pygmy sample on Deep Forest is from one of their CDs. And this was the first world music with a beat thing and whatever. So when that happened, JVC, first of all, they sued Deep Forest immediately. And then they said, we're sitting on a gold mine. We need to promote this. And some friends of mine were producing, it was CD-ROMs at the time, that was the big deal, pre-websites. Right. So I got the gig to do original compositions using bits from these CDs, but I did 15 tracks or something like that using only samples. I did no overdubs that were not samples from the CDs. But in the course of that, I waded through 15, 16 CDs of gamelan. Absolutely.
Right.
Wooden, metal from all over the place. Yeah, everything. K-Cac, yeah.
Oh, well, my hat's off to you, sir.
Well, I don't know. But I kind of like a gamelan.
You do like it, yes. Well, maybe in short doses. But I do live in a world where 50% of the population is under 20.
Wow.
It's yeah, and they're all quite savvy, and they have their version. The only sort of music here that they love is what I would call sort of smooth jazz, which I fucking can't stand. But they like that. But look, I like the idea of it's not my taste anymore. I mean, I don't have, I'm a 65-year-old man. I don't think I've hung up my taste.
Right.
I have other people to decide that it's almost arrogant to think that I know what a teenage person likes. I mean, I want to be reactive. I don't want to, I want to react to what they like. I don't want to give them what I think they like. And I don't know, when I was young, as you get older, you don't notice a difference every day. But boy, if you look at yourself now and 30 years ago, there's a big difference. And it's like that with your career. You have to keep slightly wincing, turning your career to ways, hopefully, that can give you and I've always done that, although I've never been conscious of doing it. But, if you want a long career in the music business as a producer, you don't fucking keep producing punk rock.
Right.
So you have to, you do move and change. And I'm in that place now where, I like my job. It's not, I'm, my before COVID, did I tell you this? That I put together my show, right? I basically have a 2-hour show, which is, I have about 20 pieces of music, some of them compiled in a string, and I have lots of stories, and I start with my tape hopping, and I and it's almost pretty.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it. I saw, but there's a trailer for the documentary version of that. Right.
And there's also a little clip I posted of me talking about Morrissey.
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
I don't think I saw the Morrissey one, actually.
You didn't see the Morrissey one?
No.
It's a good. Do you know who Rob Kahane is?
Rob Kahane. No.
Probably. Okay, doesn't matter.
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, it's a funny thing about Morrissey. Everyone go. You should just try and search it out. But anyway, it's the show is called Big Ears, which is and I did one performance of it in Jakarta, which I really thought was okay. I mean, the proof of concept was good. I've realized that I'm not very good with Keynote. So I was trying to, I was getting all messed up with something. So part of that didn't work. But no, it was really good. And my plan was to take it around the world, because when I sort of meant, people said, oh, you must come to Ireland, you must come to, and I suddenly thought I could do this gently, do like 1 or 2 shows a week, just go traveling and just be, have this sort of wandering minstrel thing of just doing a gig to a couple of 100 people or something,
right?
Getting paid for it, that will then pay for my trip to the next place, and have this world tour of planned out. So that was really what I wanted to do starting early next year. But, I don't think that's going to happen, and probably not now till, because when it does all open up, there's going to be many, many people who want to go out and do these things.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'll wait a couple of years to do it. But they're good stories. And it's the guy I was working with actually puts on comedy shows. So he sort of helped me. So it's as much comedy as it is. So it's your music that a lot of people seem to like, and some funny stories.
Right. Excellent. And it's definitely a format that works. I mean, the Beastie Boys thing is quite cool. Yeah. And at first you think like, man, how are we going to get through this? But it's great. It really works.
No. Do you know a friend? Do you know a bass player called Guy Pratt?
I know of him.
You know of Guy Pratt. he took over from Roger Waters, but he's played with Madonna, and he's great. He has a great sense of humor, and he does this. He does a stand-up show as well. So it's anyway. That's my plan for the future. But in terms of producing, I think without even realizing it, I think I've retired. I think I have. Without realizing.
Are you happy? Are you happy about that, or is there some unfinished business?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking, who would I like to go in and set up mics around a drum kit? And I mean, I'm not sure if it makes me really excited,
right, anymore.
And for me, I don't want to ruin anyone's career, and I know that my what I'm great at is my enthusiasm and my ability to be there and driving this thing through and being a sort of whirlwind a little bit, but being sensitive to the pace of my art, being very empathetic. I think that's what pretty much I am with my artists. I think maybe because I've been with artists all my life, I've never worked with accountants, and except in those little periods of time, so I feel it. Now, look, if maybe there was, someone said, "Oh, here's $1 million, come and make my album," duh, of course.
Right. But there are no bands out there that you feel like, oh, God, I'd really like to.
It's time for me to work with them. No, I don't think so, because I don't know. Well, for a start, I think guitar music is boring, and there's not really anything. There was such a fertile ground when I started out. There were so many different genres of music. It didn't matter. I was never it didn't matter if you liked it or not, but everything was different. Simple Minds, Simply Red, all these, I mean, they were
all
not
the simples,
same.
yeah.
All the Simple Plan. No, you see that one. Don't get all those. But anyway, so I think I have, without ever sort of saying I'm going to, but I don't know,
Right.
And people say, "Oh, can you mix this for me?" I'll do mixes for friends, but I'm not a mix for hire. I'm not one of those guys, and I wish I was, because I mean, boy, they earn,
do we?
What you can earn. It's ridiculous. You can spend a year tracking a record.
Yeah.
And the guy comes in and does a mix, and he charges by the day. It's just, it's the growth of the mixer has become, and I put that down to bad producers. There was never any need to have a mixer if a producer did a good job, really. And I've yeah. But you know what? How about this as a deal?
Yes.
Young Andrew Scheps. How about this as a deal? You're going to run out of people to talk to.
Okay.
Right?
That is possible.
How many awesome people are there in the world?
I don't know. I haven't gotten to all of them yet, but it's true. It's true. Are you looking for a part 3?
Well, what I'm saying is, what we could do, if anyone is still bothering to listen, and is we could just do a question and answer part 3.
Yep. Well, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do a few questions now to finish up this one. Then we could definitely do that. But also, I would like
only put me on like your friend.
Well, okay, you're my emergency. Now the only problem is I might need an emergency fill-in next week. Are you around?
I'll just do the question.
Okay, well, look, because Trina Shoemaker was supposed to be on next week, and she just got absolutely hammered by Hurricane Maria, and she doesn't think she's going to have power even by next week. So
Oh my God.
I'm trying to move some people around, but you will be my backup for next week. That's fantastic.
You need to be back up. Then I can I can make your viewing figures go down.
No, not at all, not at all. Because I think it would be great to do, because I think we've definitely covered this sort of artist thing, and what I always feel like is by doing this, you see all the common threads, and it really ends up exposing the production philosophy and things, but we never talk directly about it. So get to more of that.
I feel quite confident that if there's a question that I feel that I can't, but I think if we open it up to questions, there's a whole show of questions. I know.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if it's just between you two and Dave Matthews Band people, they're pretty rabid. But,
and you're still on Facebook, so you can tell them. And they can show up.
I'm on all of those formats. I'm not on TikTok.
Good. What is wrong with you?
Well, Mr. Trump says I shouldn't be.
Yeah. I love that he feels as though they should just give him $5 billion too. That's what a dumbass. Yeah. I just lost half the audience by calling him a dumbass, I'm sure, but he's a fucking dumbass. Well, so let's bring Mark on and get some questions, shall we?
Okay, Mark Abrams.
All right, hold on. I'm just waking up. It's taking me a second. It's actually very late here. It's about 4:09 in the morning where I'm at. I'm in Jakarta.
Apparently sitting very close to Steve Lillywhite.
Yeah. Oh man, we have to do the thing where like we organize.
You pass him a potato chip or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. This has been incredible. People in the chat room are asking for a part 5.
Part 5. Cool. So is that because we're going to skip part 3 and 4 and just go straight to part 5?
Yes. Yeah.
That would be funny, wouldn't it?
All right. Well, that's it. So next Monday will be part 5 if we have to do it. Otherwise, we'll do it in a few weeks. Thanks for coming to England now. That's good.
Yeah. I'm making my way
funny
back.
Thing, everyone will be searching for part 3 and part 4, and they'll never find it.
Yeah.
And they'll only know about it if they've got to the end of part 2.
Exactly.
It kind of be like Dave Matthews Records.
Oh, if they get to the end of part 2, they will know that the next one's.
They will know it's part 5.
They will know, and that will prove that they've listened all the way to the end.
Excellent.
Because I'm not going to say anything. I'll just say I'm on again next week.
Yeah. Perfect. So awesome. I'll let you know about that within the next couple of days, if that's cool.
Take your time.
Excellent.
As I say, but I would love to be first reserve, as they say.
But if not next week, then definitely we will reconvene.
I'm just saying that because I know there's a lot of people that we could go for a long time with questions. And
yeah, exactly. So
Mark, just a couple though, because I've been it's like 2.5 hours so far, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to 3 hours. It's late.
Oh, it's coming up to 3. Yeah. So yeah, okay.
So I really like this one. This is from Phineas with a PH,
right?
And he asks, "What did you grow up listening to?"
Oh, what did I grow up listening to? I grew up listening to it started off, there was a magazine called Melody Maker in England, and they used to have these, and they loved blues. So like urban blues and but I like more than just acoustic, Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee and just 12-bar blues. And then I love really early Fleetwood Mac, but I had terrible taste. I mean, the only fan club I was ever a member of was the 10 Years After Appreciation Society.
Wow. Did not see that coming.
I was a bass player, and I used to play, for me, the best player was the fastest player.
Right.
Now, I was never a fan of those Finlands, I don't know what their names are. All those people from Finland who play,
right,
or sweet, I can't remember.
But you were a Mark King fan, or had you given up on that kind of thing?
No. By that point, No, I hated Mark King.
Okay.
With a passion. I mean, I hated Level 42. No, he's a lovely man, you know. No.
But just back in the day.
By the time I back in the, I'm talking 1972, I loved prog rock. I loved weird prog. You know, you go on this journey sometimes, don't you? And you go back and listen, because with streaming, you can listen to any record. So I listened to all the albums that were my favorites. You know, those, and it's amazing the power of music, how you still know every change and every bit from those teenage records, you know. There was a band called Egg. There was a band called Stackridge. My favorite was a band called Comus. Never successful, but this is the thing. If your favorite band became successful, you decided you didn't like them.
Right.
Because, you get that. You know that one as well, right? It was, but you found another unheard of band because it was much cooler to like unheard of bands.
So, all right. So was there a particular song or artist that made you a punk? Or was it more the social thing and then the music came with it?
Completely the social thing.
Okay.
It was opportunistic to the nth degree, you know. I mean, I always say it was London at that point was full of bands who couldn't play. So what better than a producer who can't produce? But actually, the first time I ever read my name in the music press, I was called Omnipotent. And I thought that was a really fucking cool thing until I realized it was just like, not really. I was just at every gig. You know, I was always at all these gigs. I had to look it up in the dictionary. But I used to see all the bands and just hang out with them. And I got lucky breaks, you know, all along the way. It was like right place at the right time. But, you know, you know, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yes.
I mean, and that's the truth. And I was, you know, for me, I was not interested in you know, things like girls or, you know, I wasn't, or clubbing. I mean, I, you know, drank a lot, took a lot of drugs and did all that thing, but that was all locked into my, my work. And funnily enough, you know, I say this, but I've been sober for 23 years. And the idea that, and before I got sober, I never made an album not stoned, you know, and there were other things as well. And, you know, I loved my wine and blah, 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 blah. And when I stopped, and I only just realized this the other day, that all my Grammys have come since I was sober, you know. So, and I used to absolutely use my drugs to see the sound and to get ideas and all that. And I think the moral of the story is that you can the substances help you get to a place easier, but you don't need the substances to get to that place.
Yeah.
And I know that for sure. You know, when I look at Bono on stage, it's like he's high as a kite. He's completely in this other world. And when he's doing his thing, he doesn't take drugs. He's like, you know, never drink. You know, he loves to drink, but it's not his thing when he's doing his singing. And that idea that you can get to that place yourself. You know, you don't have to be high to get. It's just as humans, we're lazy, and it's easier to get to that place when you're.
And it's also an insecurity thing. I mean, I've worked with a lot of musicians who feel as though if they stop, they will no longer be creative, and they're frightened to do it because they can't believe that it's them. It must be the drugs.
Yeah, exactly that. So, you know, my first album when I was sober was a Dave Matthews album called Before These Crowded Streets, which to the sort of, you know, the real Dave Matthews aficionados, I think they would probably all say it's his best album, you know, and that was my first sober album. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud of, I'm proud of my sobriety. And, you know, there you go. One day at a time.
Congrats
Next question, and then we'll finish because.
Yeah, because it's late.
Awesome.
It is getting late.
But we can save some of these for part 5.
Right.
Yeah, we can save some for part 5.
Okay, well, here's one to remember for part 5. And this is from Jason, who asks if there's any good fish stories. And Dedalius responded to that, or any fish stories involving fish.
There are some great fish stories. Next time, I will tell you about John Fishman, a pound of opium, a car trip to New Orleans, and the ultimate Evan Dando ending.
All right, hold on.
Now, do you know who Evan Dando is? Do you know who Evan Dando is? From the Lemonheads.
Yeah. I'm just writing this down because there's no way in hell you're getting out of telling that story.
Although, hang on, you've frozen on mine. So
have I?
Oh no, now you're back again. Back again.
Awesome. Let's see. So let me find something short here.
Do another one. And what I'll do is I'll give you a teaser for the answer.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, well, let's see. We've done that a bunch. Our top voted question is, if you could tell your 20-year-old self 3 things about mixing, what would they be? From Neil Hansforth.
Oh, well, I have to give that answer. I'm not sure if I can. 3 things about mixing.
Well, do it sober would be one, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you know, I did some good work when I wasn't. You know what, Mark? Why don't you write these down and
we'll do them next time.
Send them to me.
Okay.
Send them to me, and I can really get some good answers. But then we'll also have other answers as well.
Great.
Is it okay? Do you mind?
Of course. Absolutely okay.
And then if no one
in the morning.
Then if no one wants to do it, then you know.
Yeah, I mean, I can take the week off then. Like,
then you can take the week off. Yeah.
No. Definitely.
Okay, so look, we can do that.
All right, let's do that then.
Because honestly, for me to get to sleep now, I have to sort of.
Yeah.
I noticed this last time. I got to bed, and my missus. I mean, I she woke up. What's wrong? I said, I can't get to sleep. So yes, I just need to.
There's nothing that gets you more wired than talking to me. That's it. It's it's all the anger welling up against the gentleness, I think.
Exactly. Wow, the gentle homework Andrew Scheps.
That's the worst nickname ever.
It is, isn't it?
And also the David Letterman.
Let's stick with the David Letterman thing. We'll stick with that. I'm fine with that.
Because you're looking at the financial rewards for, you know, down the road.
No, I'm just thinking David Letterman's pretty badass. Actually, that's
I preferred him to Leno.
Yeah,
I think I did. Although, yeah, I don't know. That's another story. Well, look.
All right.
Have a great. What time is it? Oh no, you're in London, so it's what's the time now?
It's 10:20, so it's beer o'clock here because I am not a sober man.
No, it's great. I love that's all that. So look, and Mark, you're a great sidekick. You know,
thank you.
And I've also seen some of your more Mark-centric things.
Oh man,
so,
crazy!
But you'll be in the next one a lot more, Mark. If you deign to do it, you can fire me now. I'll be fine. But
oh no, this is so much fun. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
Amazing.
Well, look, you boys,
excellent.
Have a great, and I'll see you at part 5 if you want to do that.
Yeah, no, we are definitely doing a part 5, and Mark will be at your place to do it as he is now. Yeah. And so next week it might be part 5. It might be something else. So people will have to tune in to find out.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You have a good night. I'm going to decompress. Oh, look, Mulla has started. It's call to bed.
Yes. So that's the call to bed.
Call to bed for me.
All right.
See you later.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye, Steve. Thank you.